He left, saying he had life-saving work to do, leaving me and our 1-month-old daughter behind. My husband's recent actions made me uneasy. I couldn't shake the feeling that he might be cheating, but I couldn't bring myself to ask him. Until that day, I'd kept quiet, but I finally decided to confront him. I headed to the airport for my revenge. Then I overheard a conversation that shattered me.
She's such an idiot. Now we can finally enjoy ourselves, just the two of us.
Seeing my husband laughing with his ex was the final blow. All my pent-up anger exploded at that moment. The flight to hell was about to begin. My name is Mia, 28, and I'm a flight attendant who loves the time I spend in the sky. I've known my husband Josh since high school, and we've been together for 10 years. We were so close back then.
Someday we'll get married.
I still remember those words clearly. We enjoyed each other's company, envisioning our future together. When we got married at 25, people said we were the perfect couple. But things slowly changed after marriage, especially when we struggled to have a child. One night, I sat at the dinner table alone, watching Josh prepare to go out. You're going out again tonight?
Sorry, a colleague invited me out. Don't wait up.
His responses were always short, as he rushed out. Recently, he'd been going out more often. Isn't it becoming a bit frequent? Josh barely acknowledged my concern before heading out the door. I watched him leave, feeling a growing emptiness in my chest. I kept telling myself we needed to talk, but even when we did, nothing changed. Friends would urge me to leave him, but I just shook my head. I knew, but I couldn't let go. Maybe I still loved him. Even though I couldn't understand why I clung to him, I couldn't let go of someone I'd spent 10 years with.
Is it because you still love him?
I didn't know what to say. The idea of losing Josh scared me. One day I found out I was pregnant. Josh, I'm pregnant! I was thrilled and told him right away, hoping things might change for us.
Really? That's great.
He seemed surprised. His smile was faint. Aren't you excited?
Yeah, I guess so.
If it's a girl, I think Lily is a cute name. His lack of enthusiasm made me uneasy, but I still hoped he'd change once we had a family. Unfortunately, that hope was crushed. Despite the pregnancy, Josh continued coming home late, spending less time with me. Will you stay home more when the baby's born?
Well, when work slows down, sure, but I'm really busy now.
His responses felt empty. Preparing for the baby on my own, I began questioning why I was in this situation. Maybe I was reaching my limit. Friends kept urging me to leave, but I still couldn't take that step. One night, I finally confronted him. Why are you so indifferent? I want us to be close like before.
It's not that I don't care, but work is exhausting, and honestly, it's hard being home.
His irritated words left me speechless. Was home no longer a place for him? Was it my fault? Tears welled up, but deep down I knew I was reaching my breaking point. I still wonder why I didn't leave then. Maybe it was because I still loved him. But now things are different. I've decided to move forward for my daughter's sake. I would stop hoping for change from Josh. But just when I made that decision, he did something that left me speechless.
Mia, I have to go to Japan on a business trip.
He sounded almost proud. Japan? When?
In about 2 months.
But our daughter will only be a month old by then. I acted surprised, but I was already laughing inside. Japan? It was obviously a lie. He's just a regular office worker.
The company took on a big project, and I was chosen.
He elaborated his lie. I watched him, noticing how he touched his nose, a habit he had when lying. Are you sure, Josh? You don't even speak Japanese.
No, there'll be translators, and I know enough like yes and no.
Watching him fumble, I barely kept from laughing. Josh, you're in sales, right? He froze, touching his nose again.
Yes, but this is different. More of a top-secret project.
His words became more absurd. I almost admired his poor lying skills. Well, don't push yourself too hard. Take care of your health. I didn't press further, knowing it was pointless. More than that, I wanted to avoid unnecessary stress for my daughter's sake. Still, his childish lies and his obliviousness to how obvious they were left me disappointed.
Are you sure you'll be okay alone?
Oh, I'm fine. I'll manage just fine without you. My response was laced with sarcasm, but he didn't notice. Josh went on about his trip preparations. I was past caring where he was really going or what he was planning. With each passing day, I felt my love for him slipping away.
If anything happens while I'm gone, let me know right away.
Don't worry. Focus on your work. I responded calmly, masking my newfound resolve. I knew exactly what his Japan trip was, but I refused to be dragged down by it. I'd moved on, ready to live for myself and my daughter.
I'm heading out.
He left with a smile, once again touching his nose. I watched his back, letting out a small sigh. His words meant nothing to me anymore. A trip to Japan? What a transparent lie. I started digging into his actions, convinced he was on a trip with someone else. I felt restless as I searched, trying to piece together the truth. Who was he following? Who was he messaging? Checking his connections on social media, I noticed a familiar name. Lisa, his high school ex. She was infamous for dating multiple guys back in the day. I was certain she was the one he was meeting. I created a fake profile using an AI-generated photo and sent her a friend request. She accepted within hours. I was right. I found posts about her upcoming Japan trip with Josh. How could he plan a vacation with her when our daughter was almost due? At that moment, I knew our marriage was over. I was ready to let him go. The day finally arrived. Labor pains started, and I prepared to go to the hospital. He'd asked me to notify him, but I had no intention of calling. A nurse asked if I wanted to call my husband, but I calmly replied, no, he's enjoying his time elsewhere. I delivered my daughter alone, channeling all my anger into strength. My daughter was born healthy. Holding her in my arms, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. She was worth every struggle. A few days later, I returned home. Josh was waiting, surprised to see me.
I'm glad everything went well.
He held our daughter for the first time, looking both nervous and moved. And just be gentle, I guided him, watching him struggle with her tiny form. But something in his voice sounded empty.
She's cute.
The words lacked sincerity. I felt a disconnect. He was going through the motions. My mind was already elsewhere, focused on my own plans for Japan. I decided to join him in Japan, but my trip had its own purpose. I asked my mom to watch Lily, explaining I wanted to attend my mentor's final flight. Mom agreed, though she seemed curious. I was grateful for her support. Josh, I'll be joining you in Japan for 2 days.
Oh, sure.
He had no idea of my real intentions. Little did he know I discovered his plans with Lisa. It felt like fate, a sign to take action. The day of the flight, I watched him board the plane. I took a deep breath and silently said goodbye to the man I once loved.
See you soon.
With no suspicion, he left for the airport. Once at the airport, I disguised myself to avoid detection. I saw them laughing together, acting like they were the only two in the world. When I boarded, my seat was directly behind theirs. Perfect. Thank you, universe, for this perfect position. I settled in, ready for what was to come. After takeoff, their conversation drifted back to me.
She's clueless, isn't she?
Let's just forget about her and enjoy ourselves. Rage bubbled up, but I stayed calm, signaling my flight attendant friend, Marina. She knew the plan and had agreed to help. So what's next? Just make sure they get extra special treatment. Marina smiled, knowingly, ready to play her part. I returned to my seat, thinking through my next steps. Observing them, I noted the carefree way they spoke about me, ignoring any repercussions. This was just the beginning of their descent into a nightmare. And with that, my revenge plan was in motion. I steeled myself, waiting for the right moment. Soon, Josh and Lisa began complaining to Marina and the other flight attendants about everything.
Why is this plane shaking so much? Can't you fly it more smoothly?
He was annoyed by a bit of turbulence, as if the crew could control the weather.
I'm sorry, sir. Weather is beyond our control, but we are prioritizing safety and will ensure the smoothest flight possible.
Marina's calm professionalism only seemed to fuel his irritation.
Well, I expect us to arrive on time. No delays.
Yeah, we're in a hurry. I rolled my eyes at their entitlement, feeling a surge of anger as they continued to demand impossible accommodations.
We apologize for any delay due to weather. Your safety is our highest priority.
Josh and Lisa, however, were relentless. Can't we at least move to business class for free?
I'm sorry, but business class is reserved for guests with prior reservations. We'd be delighted to have you book business class next time for an enhanced experience.
I admired Marina's composed responses, her subtle deflections adding to my satisfaction as I watched them grow more frustrated. Their complaints continued, now about the cabin temperature, claiming it was either too hot or too cold.
For those who feel chilly, we have blankets available, and we can also offer cold drinks for anyone feeling warm.
Her unshakable professionalism was flawless, and I mentally applauded every one of her responses. At last, Marina walked away, and I knew it was time for my next move. I took a deep breath, steadying myself as I watched Lisa stand and head toward the restroom. This was my chance. I discreetly followed her, carrying a juice cup as part of my plan. My heart raced, but I stayed calm, knowing every detail needed to be perfect. As she reached the restroom door, I pretended to stumble, spilling the juice all over her.
What the hell?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Her face turned bright red as she looked down at her stained clothes, clearly in shock and furious. I couldn't help but smirk inwardly. What are you doing here? Lisa looked up, locking eyes with me, her expression shifting to one of utter disbelief.
Mia? Why are you here?
That's my question. She stood frozen, unable to find words, clearly never expecting to see me. Perfect timing. Marina approached with a towel for Lisa, who reluctantly took it and dashed into the restroom. Now alone, I seized the opportunity, grabbing her hat and jacket, which she'd left nearby. I put them on, steeling myself as I made my way to Josh's seat, channeling my anger into a calm facade. Josh was gazing out the window, oblivious to my approach. I slid into his peripheral vision, masking my voice to mimic Lisa's.
So, how are things with Mia?
Josh glanced my way for a split second before turning back to the window, answering nonchalantly.
I'm only with her because her family's well off. It's not like I love her.
His words pierced me, confirming all I'd suspected but hadn't wanted to believe.
What about Lily? You must care about her, right?
I kept my tone steady, trying to pull the truth from him.
I don't know. She's just a baby, so I don't feel anything yet.
I felt a swell of rage and sadness, his lack of connection to our daughter more painful than I expected.
Don't you love her?
He hesitated briefly, then replied without any emotion.
I don't know if it's love. She's just cute because she's a baby.
My heart shattered in that moment, but I had one last question.
What about Mia? Do you love her?
Josh finally looked at me, giving me a dispassionate gaze.
No, I don't love Mia.
Those words were the final nail in the coffin, my love for him dissolving into profound bitterness. But I had to be sure.
Do you love me?
At last, Josh seemed startled, staring at me with confusion.
I love you, Lisa.
I almost laughed at the absurdity, at how little he truly understood me. His face paled as he finally realized who I was.
Mia?
Surprised to see me? My gaze was cold, but inside I felt triumphant. He was too shocked to speak. His face drained of color.
It's not what it looks like.
He stammered, but his words were hollow. I simply glared back, letting him feel the weight of my silence.
I don't feel anything for Lisa. I swear it's just physical.
His pathetic excuse only deepened my disgust. Physical? You told her you loved her. He fumbled, words failing him as I delivered my final blow. I'm done, Josh. I stood, removing Lisa's hat and jacket, leaving him utterly speechless. Just then Lisa returned, frozen at the sight of me standing between them. Marina, sensing my cue, offered me the empty seat beside Josh, turning our row into a witness to his lies. With one last glare, I whispered, "Let's discuss what you were really planning."
What's going on, Josh?
Lisa's anger flared, realizing Josh had lied to both of us. Yes, an adult relationship, just like you both wanted. The flight descended into tension as both sat, humiliated and defeated. As we neared landing, I took out a recorder, playing the incriminating audio of Josh's betrayal for all to hear. Passengers whispered, and Josh's face turned even paler. Some passengers even voiced quiet encouragement to me.
You said you'd leave her for me.
Goodbye. I had no intention of staying in Japan. As soon as we landed, I turned my back on them, knowing they'd be left to sort out the mess. Lisa decided to return to the States immediately, facing a costly, last-minute ticket change. Josh, left behind, had to pay for his hotel and expenses alone. Take care of everything on your own from now on. Josh remained silent, defeated. I felt triumphant, knowing my plan had worked perfectly. The next day, I boarded my return flight, ready to witness my mentor's last flight. I celebrated his final journey, feeling my own life taking a new direction. Back home, I filed for divorce, securing custody of my daughter and planning for the future. Josh was forced to leave our apartment, unable to keep up with his expenses. Meanwhile, I was ready to move forward, free from his lies, focused on building a happy life with Lily. This ordeal had strengthened me. No more getting dragged down. From here on, it was just me and Lily facing a bright future together.